Scary games. Chard's here to talk about them with me today on. Hello, folks. I am joined by Chardmonk today.
What?
And we're
Are we?
mostly focused on a horror double feature, I guess you could call it.
You said we were ghost hunting today. I brought all this gear, and we're just here to talk. I thought we were hunting ghosts, bro. Jesus.
I'm sorry I left my proton pack back in California.
California, man. Oh, I got this EMF reader and some fucking digital recorders, bro. All right, that's fine. I'd rather talk about them anyways because I don't want that stuff following me home.
Have you ever actually tried to go ghost hunting for real? Just curious.
Inadvertently. I have seen some stuff. I got some spooky stories we can talk about later when it, post haste if you want to, but I've done stuff.
We'll save it for off recording.
Yeah. We went to my best friend and I, Lord Optic. We did a cross country trip. I flew out to New York and he drove from New York to Washington when he was moving out here.
Damn.
And we went to Gettysburg and we saw a whole bunch of monuments, stuff like that. And I, you take your phone out, take some pictures, turn on the voice recorder, play it back, just stuff like that. But you don't want to. You want to ask the questions and have them, realize that you're speaking to them, and then, have another person driving cross country with you. That's just awkward. So, I never made it obvious. I'm way too chicken to do actual. I love ghost hunting shows and stuff like that. I don't know if I could do it myself. I don't know. I don't think I'm brave enough to go in there and do that stuff. And you guys can point and laugh at me all you want. I don't know if I'm brave enough for that stuff.
Anymore? Oh, hell no. When I was younger, absolutely. We had a crazy hospital that had been shut down. It was a mental institution, but it had been shut down for I don't know how many years before I moved to that area.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to go check that out. But
those are the worst. I got friends with haunted houses and stuff. Doors would open and close and stuff, and you could hear walking around the house at night when nobody's sleeping. But that's the worst. And that's pretty bad. But that's not. I can't get into a dilapidated hospital of any kind. I just couldn't. So, it's funny.
Jake and GP will make fun of me because I believe in this stuff. But
hey,
I have seen some shit.
You have solidarity in ghost hunting and the belief in it because they can make fun of me too. So I'm all about that stuff. So. Lord Optic, when I went and got him in New York, he was actually in, it was an old hospital that they converted into this huge apartment, high-rise, thing. And they were constantly working on it because, trying to renovate it and whatnot. It was beautiful. It was absolutely stunning. And there's a hallway that they could never renovate because they say that their tools would go missing. Things would get moved from where they were working on. Whenever they tried to renovate that, that specific section of the hallway, they couldn't because they'd lose all their stuff all the time, or something would shift, or they'd hear someone talking to them. Again, all rumors, all hearsay. But he heard about it so much that it was a common occurrence to talk about in that location. So
wild.
I was only there for 20 minutes because I was picking them up, and me. As soon as I hear that, I'm looking down the hallway that they can't fix. And I was do I want to go down there with my phone and maybe? Nah, we got places to be.
How
we got to be.
Curious am I really?
Yeah, no, wasn't that curious.
I guess we'll start with Summer of '58 because I think that'll be a slightly shorter conversation, and then we can get into Alien Isolation a little further in.
I'm glad you played that. I stumbled upon the game. I've recently been introduced to TikTok. I know it's my life now. A coworker of mine and my wife were both they love this stuff, and I was pretty adamantly against watching anything on it just because I was being elitist and whatnot. And there's a couple like streamers that post their stuff in there. I know Middle Age Stream has some stuff on there too. A little shout out to him. But there's this guy. I don't know him. I've never actually watched him. I've only seen his TikToks. I follow his TikToks more than his actual stream. And he was playing this game, and he was horrified throughout the entire playthrough of the game. And it's just it's quick snippets, clicks of like, the jump scares. You played it, so most of the jump scares that, happen throughout the game. And I was so like, I was laughing so hard at his reactions that I was like, I gotta get in on this. And it was cheap. It was cheap on Steam. It didn't break the bank or anything crazy like that. And it looked beautiful for what it was. It was an indie game. And I went, you know what? Let's give it a try. So I got it. I got my green screen set back up because I wanted it to be, immersion in the game. And I think I played 15 minutes of it and went, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop and save it for the stream. Because I was already like, my hair was already standing up on my arm. So, and it delivered. It delivered in every aspect that I figured that game was going to be delivered. So, we could talk about what it is so people know what it is. Because I just went into like this tirade about how horrifying it is, and nobody even knows what the heck we were talking about. So
yeah, I don't want to spoil too much, but
yeah,
the game does a really good job with the sound design. The background noises and the instrumental shudders and all that. Oh man, it really makes you tense the whole time you're playing.
Yeah,
and honestly, you're right. The game does look pretty good. If it were something I were just skimming through on Steam, I probably might have looked at it and passed right by, because it does look like one of those low budget Unity games that you see a lot on Steam. And
right,
I mean it sucks that it gets lumped in with that because it's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But, upon first impression, that's what I would have thought.
Right.
I'm glad you mentioned it. You suggested it, and I went and looked into it and checked out your clips and all that. And I was like, all right, this is worth a play. I'm interested.
Hey, it just takes one dude like crying in his chair to get somebody else to be like, why don't they go give that a play for a little bit?
I showed the clips to my wife, and she was like, "Oh, poor guy."
The poor guy. I did that. I brought that upon myself. I have no one to blame but myself. No one forced me. No one bet me. But I like scary games. Like, I used to hate scary games. I don't care for jump scare movies. Like, they're just like, I'm not a big Five Nights to Freddy kind of dude, because to me, there's no premise. I'm sure there is, and anybody that plays Five Nights and loves that game, I apologize. I don't get it. To me, it's just like it's just waiting for the jump scare. So obviously, you're building up the stress of it coming, and then maybe you get through the night and it doesn't happen, but most of the time you don't. Like, from all the streamers that I've watched, I've never seen anybody get through a night of that game. But with this, there's story, and there's premise, and there's movement, and you're exploring a little bit. So games like that allow you to kind of like walk around and see what's going on, instead of just planting you in one spot and just waiting for the death to come at you, or whatever, the jump scare to come at you. I find far more entertaining, which is why I really picked this one up. And you mentioned sound design, which is, a good, it's not a segue, but it's a good tie-in to Alien Isolation, which we'll get into more detail here in a minute, about how both of these games, the soundscape is really the big selling point in this game.
Yeah, it's arguably one of the most important aspects of a game like these.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. It's you just feel stressed throughout the entire playthrough.
Yes.
And without the sound, and without the music, and without all the stuff, you just be like, hey, the room's dark. This sucks. It sucks walking around here.
I'm not gonna say flickering lights and darkness and all that doesn't help,
right.
But sound is what really drives it home.
Yeah.
Especially like if you've got headphones on or earphones in, that's the end of it right there.
That's game over, man. Game over.
I mean, throwing it back just a little bit, Summer of 58's horror aspects reminded me somewhat of the original Silent Hill back when I first played it.
Okay. Okay.
way back on the original PlayStation. I was staying up late with my friend. We were playing in the dark. It's like midnight.
Mhm.
I'd been up probably since 4 that morning. So I was dead tired and a little loopy.
Yep.
So that certainly doesn't help when you're playing a scary game.
Nope. No.
And I was getting vibes of that this time around, playing, fresh off of sleep and at 9:30 in the morning,
you
10
were
a.m.,
you
something
were
like that.
you were morning time. Yeah, you were morning early afternoon when you fired that guy up. Yeah. I was so happy to catch it. It was like the one day that I took off of work because I was waiting for my VR set to show up and for them to come and fix my roof.
Oh,
And then you fired up and went, "Oh, Wolf's playing it today? Bro, I'm in. I'm watching this whole freaking thing." And I'm so happy I did. I was glad I get to enjoy that journey
it was
with
a good
you.
time.
But
I will say the setting was really interesting.
mhm.
It was a little janky just because, and I mean, I don't know if it's on purpose or if it was literally part of the original language of the developers, but it
Yeah.
kind of worked regardless
Yeah.
because you were supposed to be translating from Russian to English
Right.
with a dictionary. So the guy does not know Russian, so I'm sure I don't know if it was just a way to like really ease up on the developers in translation
Right.
and sort of help the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it worked.
It did. It's very broken and very kind of like, wait, what? What's he trying to say? But it did. It definitely sounded like if I was over in Russia with a dictionary, knowing zero knowledge of how to say the language properly or read it, that's probably what
Right?
it would probably translate to me as well as very, very broken and
I
mistaken.
couldn't even tell you what order the Cyrillic alphabet goes in. I wouldn't know where to start.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
He was translating way faster than I would.
Well, he was writing notes in it. I was like, this guy's like full on speaking it now. He just all of a sudden he's been here for 3 nights and he already knows it.
Yeah.
No, there is a little jank to the game. One of my bigger gripes, and again, I don't know if it was intentional or not, was the triggering method. Like, however you would advance the story, it didn't feel like. In some spots, it felt like, oh, okay, this should advance it by doing this. But then there were times, and I know you felt it wandering around, like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you'd hear a sound effect, or you'd hear a knock on the door, or you'd hear a whisper or something. And then you would go into that room, and then it would start triggering the next event of whatever was happening. But there wasn't a lot of cues, and you got to wonder if it's designed for you to start stressing out because you're like, okay, I'm locked in this room. I don't know where to go. Nothing's like opening. Everything's locked or chained up. What do I do here? And then something really gets you spooked. And then that's kind of the, that's the trigger to go on to the next thing. You can always tell when you scream high pitched, that means it's time to move on to the next area.
So this game, I actually started to metagame just a little bit after I realized, and it really is unfortunate that I couldn't find a way to lose. Like there was no notable, like if there's a way to get a game over in this game, I didn't find it.
Yeah, me either.
And I was kind of screwing around a little bit after a while, testing the waters. So it made it a little less scary for me once I put that together. Because when I play a game, I'm a nerd.
Right.
I want to know how the game is designed and what kind of things they're doing, the mechanics and all that. So once I realize a mechanic, I start to game it a little bit. It's just the way I play.
Fair.
And with this one, I started to cheese the game a little bit. And it started to feel a little bit less scary because of that. Now, not to say entirely, because it was still doing a number on my senses in the long run. I knew there were no major repercussions.
I feel like you lose in real life because I'm going to tell you what, I did it at night on a Saturday night. I obviously had my panel lights on because we had the green screen going. So I, had that all set up. So it was well lit in the room, but I did not sleep well after that game. I can't say that I had vivid nightmares or anything related to it, but I know I tossed and turned that entire night, and I woke up Sunday going, "Yeah, I don't feel like streaming or doing anything today." This kind of it sucked the life out of me a little bit, but in a good way. Like I definitely was interested and I was engaged throughout the whole thing. And I assumed there was no death trigger I mean, there might be. I don't know, but I didn't find one. But it was just my imagination running wild with what the game was giving me, and that made it that made up for any chance. I'm like, I could die. I might die in this chair. It could be me that dies in this chair. I'm my avatar. You know.
It once you realize that, it makes every aspect of it psychological, because there's no actual, since you can't die and you can't get set back at all. It's all just taking in what's there instead of worrying about what could happen to you.
Right. I didn't know if I was going to be able to finish it.
How long did it take you to notice?
Oh my God. Like, I was halfway through it going, I don't know if I could go any further. I'm like taxed. I'm mentally taxed at this point. It had been a while since we played something that intense. But we soldiered on. So how long
did it take you to notice the bunny rabbit?
Oh, immediately. That rabbit was
okay.
Everyone, because I mean, the first time you see it, it's in the window in the bathroom, and then you leave,
staring at
and
you.
then you leave, and then it's not there, and then it's in a chair.
You find it across the building,
and then
behind a window.
You find it under the window.
Under the
then
window.
You find it in the. I think the first time you ever see it, and it's easy to miss. It's in that chair next to that window, where you find the light bulbs or whatever. It's like folded over, so it's very unnoticeable. But if you're paying attention, because I've watched the dude stream it, I've watched you, I've watched a bunch of people on YouTube stream it, just because I wanted to see like how everybody responded to this, and if I was the wuss, or if all of us were the same way about how scary this thing was. So I had noticed it, I picked up on it. I didn't see you found the note in the room about the rabbit. I didn't find that.
About it being.
So when you were playing
the little girl's
when
rabbit.
you read that, I was like, oh shit, I didn't look behind there. There's the correlation. Okay, there's the bunny. Okay, so now the bunny makes sense as to why that thing's everywhere where it needs to be. So there's a lot of hidden gems and information in the game that you could easily miss just because you're too scared to go look at anything. But if you're like Wolf and you can dig down deep and find your big boy pants, you can find a lot of really cool lore, I guess it was. I thought it was funny you were talking about the little mirror, because I didn't read that note either. So you're like, I got to find a mirror and I got to find this, but I don't see any mirrors in this place. It's like, you're not going to need a mirror, man. I promise you, it's not going to be here. Yeah.
I mean, it was essentially telling you the whole, stand in front of a mirror, spin around 3 times, say Bloody Mary,
Exactly. Like, it's the lore of that.
However
place.
that went, I don't remember anymore.
Right.
But it was that same sort of thing. And I was like, well, I don't see a mirror, big or small.
You were like dead set on finding this small mirror. Like, you would stop, you'd get scared by something, and you'd be like, okay, I got to find this mirror. We gotta look for this mirror. There's no mirror, man. You don't need it. You don't need anything looking at you. I promise you, you're gonna find plenty of that just walking around. So that was pretty cool. You could definitely tell like a roguelike player when you're like, okay, I need to find this object. This object's telling me to find this object. That was pretty funny.
I do play a lot of roguelikes. But there was one point where you go into the sleeping quarters room, and it's at night, and so you've got your camera on so you can see, and you just see this humanoid figure standing in the darkness. And if you walk up too quick, it's easily to just walk right up to it, and whatever happens with it happens with it. And I saw it and stopped, and I was like, oh no. I'm not doing that.
Me and you both there.
And I walked around and did other things for a while instead. And then even when it came time to go up to him, I was like, I'm not going straight up to this guy. I am going around as close to this bunk bed as possible and sidling around over here. And somehow, like, I triggered him anyway, and he ran off out of the door. I was like, well, I don't know what would have happened if I was directly in front of him, but
I can tell you.
I'm glad I did it this way.
I saw him too, but I walked up to him. But basically, he'll vanish. The scary noise happens, and he'll vanish, and a ball will come rolling out. The ball that you see rolling around randomly throughout the building from time to time. There's another one that's like that. When you first hear the music box in the dark, in that same room, you'll walk out. You turn the music box off. You'll hear the scurry of little feet running out of the room, and you turn around, and then you'll approach the door, and you get the jump scare of the thing running by the door. But if you leave and you turn left to go to the entrance, like where your sleeping bag and stuff is, the
Mm-hmm.
I guess the caregiver, I'm assuming that's who it is in the doorway in the other room, but like you can see her through the doorway hovering and twitching with like this weird, like
Oh,
arched back angled thing. And I just stood there and went, nope, nope, I'm not.
oh, had I
Yep.
seen that, that would have
You
messed with
can't,
me.
you could barely catch it. I don't know if maybe my resolution or my brightness was turned up just enough, but you could barely see a figure twitching in the darkness. And I zoomed in on it with my camera and I went, oh God, I don't want to go out there. And it's the same thing, you approach it and then the loud noises and the camera shakes, gets all staticky and then you yip and then you move on to the next thing. So that bunny terrified me more times. It terrified me watching you stream it. I'm sitting here knowing what's happening, and I still was jumping in my chair watching you play it. That's how intense this game is. I already know what's going on. It still scared the hell out of me.
I have to wonder if it made the rabbit a little less intense for me, naming it Fred.
Maybe.
I just instead of referring to it as the rabbit, I just kept calling him Fred.
Rabbit. I think you missed one of the dolls, and it's after you go in and you see the box and the dripping from the ceiling. When you go into that room and the thing kind of lunges at you, there's a doll. It looks like a clown doll, but it's a rabbit doll. But it's not like Fred. It's not like the one with the crossed out eyes like the first one you see. It's like it looks like a little porcelain one. And it's sitting on a chair next to that toilet when you walk in there to turn the water off that's running. That's the thing that rushes you when you leave to go towards the entrance. And that thing's...
I don't think I actually turned off the water.
Well, it turns off when you approach it, and then you go over and you pick up the box, and then the dripping comes from the ceiling, and then you get that jump scare from that.
Oh, okay.
But when you leave, that rabbit's not on the chair anymore, and you go out there, and if you pay attention, that light, there's the light over the door to the entrance of the building where you locked yourself in. You can see like the top of a rabbit head with the ears kind of low, and then the light goes out. And you're like, what was that? Like, it's so quick. Like, I barely caught it. And I did not. I was like, I don't want to go in there. I do not want to go in there. And I reluctantly went in there and got rushed. And I think I peed myself during that specific spot. It was very, very well designed. Extremely well designed. Great game for $9 on Steam. And I mean, it's short.
Absolutely.
It's like 2 hours or something. It's not even that super long. But I think it gets you good. It's real good.
Finished it in 2.5. You know what? They get bonus points for messing with the player after you've beaten the game and you go into level select.
Yep. I didn't do that. I was so happy you did that. I had to see that. That was so trolly.
That was pretty cool.
That was good.
It's little things like that really put a game over the top for me, and that one it definitely helped. For all the game's shortcomings, that was certainly not one of them. That was a nice little some gravy on top.
They have the company that made it has like 2 other games out, and they're both horror games. And I've watched brief videos of them,
and I'm curious.
They look terrifying. And if it's anything like Summer 58, man, I'm gonna need some liquid courage to get through some of those guys. I was my bourbon was out next to me during that playthrough. I was getting real warmed up when we were playing that one. Ooh.
So I'm kind of a chicken shit when it comes to horror stuff.
Yeah.
I don't, and I am and I'm not. It really depends.
Mm-hmm.
First, let's preface this by saying the first time I saw a horror movie, I was probably 4. My uncle, with his terrible judgment, decided I was okay to watch Night of the Living Dead 2 or something like that.
Okay.
And so it freaked me out, and it was very quick. He and my mom were quick to point out that it was makeup after I was a little anxious about it.
Fair.
And after that, it, usually for kids, it doesn't sink in. But for me, I was like, okay, it's makeup. It's not real. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
So makeup jobs never bothered me again. Seeing zombies in movies, no big deal, whatever.
Right.
But stuff like the first time I saw Blair Witch, frustrating to watch, but also eerie and a little creepy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you watch stuff like Paranormal Activity, particularly the first one. First one. That one made it hard to sleep that night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's that movie? Cat's Eye.
Okay.
Do you remember that old movie Cat's Eye?
I know the name, but I don't know if I've watched it. My wife is a huge like horror movie buff. I'm like you. I don't like I like the psychological ones like Paranormal Activity, Blair Witch, and that stuff. which are far worse than like, Freddy Krueger and Jason and all that stuff. But I do remember Cat's Eye.
I've never been a huge fan of Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th. But Cat's Eye messed with me. Is only one particular moment. It was probably because this little tiny troll in the wall came and tried to suck the life force out of the little girl while she was sleeping in her bed.
Yeah, okay.
So, for 7-8-year-old me, that's fucking creepy.
That's your safety
that
zone.
made it hard to sleep.
Yeah.
Also, you know what? Thinking back on it, The Blob. That one messed with me as a kid.
Okay.
And what was that one with the giant alligator in the sewers?
Oh, I mean, I know.
Croc, something like that. Crocodile.
I think it was Croc. I think that's what it was. I don't know.
But
I'm thinking
that one.
I'm thinking Lake Placid, which wasn't scary. It was Betty White's shining moment. As an
I never saw that one, but if it's got Oliver Platt, it's not that scary.
Yeah, but it is Betty White's like shining star in her cinematography. That's the first time I realized that Betty White was a very foul-mouthed lady, and I grew to love her more from watching that train wreck of a show or movie. I have 2 older sisters, and one of them is 9 years older, and the other one's 5 years older. So I got my fair share of like scary movies when they just put something on and they'd be like, "Hey, we're watching this," and I'd be like, "Cool." It's like Friday the 13th 2, and it's like Nightmare on Elm Street. I think it's 4. I think we watched Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and there's a part, and to this day, I will never forget this scene because this is the part that messed me up. There was a guy, he was lying in his bed, and then his arms like split open, and his muscles attached to the ceiling. And Freddy Krueger walked him off like a marionette off of whatever building he was and threw him off the ground. And I will forever remember that. I don't even remember how old I was. I had to have been 5 or 6. I don't know. But my sisters were like, "Oh no, probably not a good thing for me to be seeing," because that's still to this day I will never forget that. I am gory movies. Like the gore horror flicks, I never really got into those. Again, because as an adult now, you look at them, you're like, yeah, that looks super cheesy. But the psychological ones that just mess with your head, those are the ones I seem to be more attracted to. And those are worse than the makeup ones, than the overly gory, the Crystal Lake ones. It's way worse than that. So
yeah,
but
definitely one that always makes it, even to this day, I get anxious watching it, is Alien.
Mm-hmm. It's hard not to. That is a brilliantly done movie.
Aliens will also do it, but it's more of an action flick than just a horror flick, so not quite as much.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And so when I was I was super excited to play Alien Isolation when I got to that one because of that.
Mm-hmm.
It was I was really hoping for it to mess with me the way the movie did. And for the most part, it did.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely nailed the isolation aspect, much like how you feel watching Ripley in the first movie.
Yep. Absolutely.
Just helpless and overpowered and
terrified.
Terrified and wondering what the hell's going on.
Yep. It is Alien Isolation is easily my favorite horror game I think I've ever played to this day. Even, it's full length. It takes a long time to play. It's got a phenomenal story. It's, it's the whole aliens trope and it's in that universe and all that stuff. And I literally, I think that was kind of the beginning of like my decision to start streaming horror games, was that one. I think my wife bought it for me on my birthday. And I fired it up, and it was real early on in the streaming career, but I fondly remember that game. And there's a spot where I was running around trying to enter a code, and the alien was out. You can hear it walking through the the air ducts and whatnot. And you hear the low hum of the strings, everything's real intense. And I'm trying to plug this code in, and I can hear it crawling out of the thing behind me. And I start panic running to one of the one of the underground air ducts to hide myself in, and my wife kicked my door open. This is the reason I stream with my door open from now on. My wife kicked my door open and yelled at the top of her lungs, and I had a heart attack. She scared me so bad because Lord Optic was texting her because we all live close by to one another, and he was like, "This is the time to scare him if you want to go in there and scare him." And God damn it. And they got a clip of it. They got the clip of me saying how much I hated my wife at the time because I was funny. A mess. I was a mess. I had to take a week off from streaming and playing that game entirely because I was drained. I was so mentally exhausted from playing that game because it's like, we called it Locker Sim 2018 because I'd literally just hide in a locker for hours playing the game. Just like, so what do you guys want to talk about? We shoot the shit? Oh, the alien's here. Hold on. I can't talk. Okay, he's gone. We can talk again. Yeah, okay, let's it's pretty funny.
That was a game where I tried not to hide in the locker just because you couldn't see much in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was more interesting to try and hide under desks and see the alien cruise by with its tail dragging behind it and stuff like that. So I played it a little differently, but also when I played it, and I was telling you this during my stream the other day, I had the added benefit of my viewers being able to enter commands to make the sounds that the alien makes. So I never knew if it was real or not.
Oh, man. I couldn't. I don't trust my chat enough.
I'd be in the middle of doing something, and then I'd hear the alien drop sound.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
Oh, I gotta go. I can't stay here.
Oh, God. That game is so well done. I think it won an award. It did. It won an award for best sound in a game, I think. Best sound, orchestrated sound in a game.
I would believe it. I gotta...
We've talked about it in the past. I'm almost positive it won for best sound in a game, I think 2018, and deservedly so, because I'll never forget just being so stressed out about everything going on. And there's spots in that game where you're just getting hit left and right. You got the Joes walking around, talking to themselves. And then you got some explosion that just happens that freaks you out. Then you turn tail to get away from this explosion, and next thing you know is you're getting face eaten by an alien. But it's like boom, boom, boom. There's no time to stop and compose yourself and compile any kind of useful thought. It is literally just fight or flight the entire goddamn game, and it's perfectly designed. And I would highly recommend anybody who is into any kind of horror game to play this and give it a shot. It's great. My biggest issue with it being on PC is that every other console game version of this game has the ability to use the microphone to lure the alien. So if you're in
really?
If you're playing on Xbox and you have your Kinect set up and you have your headset set up, the alien will hear you talking, which was one of the big draws for me, because I was like, this would be perfect on stream. They can try and get me to talk and the thing will be walking around, but it doesn't work that way on PC. Now, I'm sure there's a mod out there that we could find that does allow that to happen. But I have, in my very short search for it, I've come up empty-handed. But yeah, that's a big perk for getting it on Xbox or PS4. Was that cool little additive to it. And that was before Phasmophobia was doing the, you can't talk in Phasmophobia anymore kind of thing. I love that aspect. I love being immersed so much into the game that I literally feel like if I do anything, even at my desk, if I make any sound, it's over. Like game over, it's done. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I love that aspect of a lot of horror games that they're doing nowadays.
Yeah, I know that Alien Isolation made use of, at least on the PS4, the DualShock 4 controller with the little light up bar on it would flicker with your tracker.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
I only learned that today reading an interview about Alien Isolation. And I'm going to be honest, reading about Alien Isolation made me anxious again from when I played it. That's how much that game got me.
It's good.
I'm gonna go back and play it on the PS4.
I'm gonna revisit it. I think this October. I've been thinking about it.
With your VR?
I wish there are VR mods that I hear that you can look up. I'm gonna try. I got to get this motion sickness thing under control before I can do anything. I really.
What are you doing buying VR if you get motion sickness?
Well, it's like seasickness. The more you go on the boat, the less it happens, and I'm working my way.
Fair.
I'm working my way through it. Well, a lot of them have snap movement too, so you can, basically teleport around instead of like have full body motion. It's, feet go there, you appear there. Feet go there, you appear there. At least Half-Life Alyx works that way. But I'll tell you, even in just, I don't know if you've ever touched Phasmophobia. I know we weren't like going to talk about this very lengthy. For those of you who don't know, Phasmophobia is an indie ghost hunting game that is all the rage on Twitch right now. It's phenomenal. They have a VR set for it.
4 players?
It is, yeah. It's you get your friends together and you go hunt ghosts, but it's I say reality, but it's ghost hunting. It's what you would do if you were really looking for ghosts. You got the EMF, you got the cameras, you've got all the stuff to hunt and identify what it is, and then when you identify what it is, then you get money and you leave and you can buy more gear and stuff like that. Basically, that's it in a nutshell. But while you're doing this, It's like hunting you, trying to kill you, and you can die. You can die from this thing. So there's a VR version of the game, and just being in the tutorial house with this headset on is the scariest thing I've done, I think, ever. It is so rough. It is terrifying. And I got to get this motion sickness under control because I really, really want to dive deep into this game with the VR headset. It's a whole new level of horror and terror, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's my Phasmophobia.
Don't throw your headset off the way you threw it off while you were playing Summer of '58.
I rewatched that VOD. I rewatched the VOD of that and went, God damn, I'm lucky I didn't break those. That's not something I shouldn't be doing that. I've never thrown my headphones like that ever. But I don't think I've ever been that terrified of anything ever before. So, at least not in my face. But yeah, VR brings a whole new level to most of these scary games. And I'm telling you, if I can find an Alien Isolation VR mod, you bet your butt I'm picking that up, trying that out.
Oh man, if you do that, I'll be there to see it for sure.
I'll let you know. I'll let everybody know.
But yeah, Alien Isolation. That did some really cool things, and it does have a slow kickoff. I've seen people complain about that and say, "Oh, it's just boring." And it's because the first hour it is setting the stage.
Right.
You're just getting the hang of the controls and learning about the world you're in, because it doesn't treat it like you've watched the Alien movies.
Right.
It treats it like you're new to them,
Yep.
which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't go overboard with a ton of exposition and everything.
Right.
It's literally introducing you to the world, introducing you to the gameplay, and getting you into it. And so it sends you through the motions of going through, and you're creeped out by some things, but nothing is inherently an enemy just yet.
Right.
And then the first thing they have you go up against is the androids.
Yep.
I believe.
The average Joes, I think they're called average Joes, or what were they? Something Joes.
Working Joes.
Working Joes, thank you. I watched Dodgeball the other day. That's why I have average Joe stuck in there.
And then after you've been dealing with those for a while, that's when you finally get the xenomorph.
Mm-hmm. And the introduction to the xenomorph is so good.
It is.
Oh, it's so good. My butt puckered when that thing came out of the crawl space and the tail falling like Reddit. Oh man, so well done. It's so perfect, and it takes place in the actual Aliens trilogy. Like I think it's between 1 and 2 when this happens. So it's actually like relevant to what's going on after 1. And the art style is reminiscent of that 1979, I think, 1980s, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The art style is reminiscent of that same art style from the movie. So it feels like you're there. Like it feels like you're part of, the first movie. It's really, really thoughtfully designed.
Yeah, and that was actually on purpose. Fox, the developers went to Fox and asked for all the resources that they had regarding the first movie to help in designing this game. And Fox was very open to giving them everything they needed. So they just gave them access to everything they had. It was like, have at it. You got behind the scenes, you got all sorts of crap. And they very deliberately didn't go with any components that were post 1979.
It's awesome.
As far as what the electronics look like they're made of.
Right. That's so awesome. Keeping it true to the source is just really neat.
Yeah, and they even did some things where, you know how the cutscenes all look kind of a little bit murky and muddy?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's because they took the original footage, transferred it to a VHS, and then put the VHS version of the recording in the game.
Oh man,
They did some cool stuff with this.
I love hearing stuff like that, man. That's so cool. It's so cool. There's, you would say it's like a labor of love and a really nice love letter to the Alien series in a horror game. Because let's be honest, we haven't played a lot of Alien games that have really been blockbusters that have been like really stood out. And I was very on the fence about even trying this one because of the history of Alien games that I played in the past, where I can't think of one Alien game that I was like, you know what, that's a really good Alien game, other than like Alien versus Predator, the arcade game, which has nothing to do with fear or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I really liked System Shock 2 was a maybe one of the first PC scary games that I'd ever played. Way back when. And it reminded me,
I didn't know that was a scary game.
I think it was designed to be kind of a spooky type game. It's got a very weird, a dark atmosphere and very, ambient and all that stuff. I mean, it's nothing to the caliber of what Alien Isolation is, but that's what technology has gotten us, is that to this day. But I felt like it had a lot of that same kind of space fear with it, and then you add the alien in there. And then we played it. I was like, this is just like the dang movie. I'm like living. I am in this movie with this game. It's perfect. I'm horrified. I am constantly looking for a place to hide. I'm alone. I'm isolated, quote unquote. I can't think of a better way to really like make a horror game based on a movie that's initially done that, because, like you said, Aliens was more of an action-packed horror, but it wasn't scary so much as it was, let's kick ass and chew bubblegum. Yes, Vasquez and Hicks are going in there, go rip some faces off, and Bill Paxton's using his game over, man, game over.
Yeah.
It's more of that kind of, it's scary because the things are horrifying, and there's a few good jump scares in there. But it's still more action-packed than what Alien was, where you're just like, every corner, nothing is safe. Everyone's dying. What's going on? And you feel just like Ripley did on the space station or on the spaceship during that, where you're just like, I have no idea what's going on. How do I control this? How do I stop this thing? There's nothing here I can do to fix it. You're trying to build stuff, and you're using your electrical ability to, your smarts to build all these crazy like noise making devices and health boosters and this, that, and the other, just to survive. And like you said, they use all these crazy tools that she, the main protagonist pulls out and can build all this stuff out of scrap, and the light, your battery on your flashlight dies. You have to find batteries to reset it, so you don't always have it. The tracker they give you makes noise in the locker, so you can't have the tracker out or it'll find you. There's a lot of really cool little neat things that just make the game just better. The more I think about it, that like I want to play it after we're done with this episode. Like fire it back up. It's excellent. It is just too good. There's not enough words in the dictionary to say how good this game actually is.
Yeah, they actually do pull a little bit of the aliens stuff out at you. So again, it's minor spoilers. We're going to ruin a few things here for maybe mid game, but they let you go down to the engine floor of the ship you're on.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember the name of the ship you're on, but the space station.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Let's see.
You get down to the engine floor and you find that there's not just one alien, there's a whole nest of them.
Oh yeah.
And that was that kind of broke me a little bit. I was like, "Oh no, don't do this."
Sevastopol Station.
Sevastopol, that's what it was.
Station, yes. Yeah, when you initially start this thing up, you're like, okay, I'm only dealing with one. I guess I just figure it out. And then you find out that nope, no, you're in some trouble, man. There's a lot of them. You better
when
figure
they
your life
show
out.
you,
Oh yeah,
when you get the engine stuff going
Mhm.
and you come back up and you just see all the aliens climbing up the wall
Mhm.
and attacking the glass on the room you're in.
Mhm.
It's
the big
it's terrifying.
big
You're like,
nest,
how
yeah.
much of the game is left?
because
And there's a lot.
they do such a great job of it being. You just think you're just dealing with one. There's no hints. There's no hints that there might be several of them on board. You literally just feel like you're dealing with one. And I think you get rid of that one. And you're like,
You
okay,
do.
I got to get.
You go through.
Yeah. You're like, I cleaned it
it's
out.
a massive thing.
And then you go down. I got to get the engine started for this thing because you're going to collide with the planet or a sun or whatever you're flying towards. And you go out there to fight up, and there's a freaking nest down there. Oh God, here we go again. And there's more of them. There's more than one, and it's oof, yeah. And you just keep trying to stay alive throughout the rest of it. And I think I broke. I think I broke when I went down there and saw all those down there and went, well, I don't know if we can do this. this is
when
bad.
you're dealing with, when you're trying to sneak around 2 aliens and 5 working Joes, it is as stressful as that game gets.
Yep. I mean, the only thing they give you is the flamethrower to scare it off, and then everything else is just find a good place to hide. Like the Joes, you can take out the Joes. It takes a little work, but the game is not forgiving with its ammo consumption. If you only have one bullet left, chances are you've wasted everything you got, and you better figure out a way to hold on to that one bullet for that one moment you need it. But luckily, they give you the wrench or the multi-tool that you can get around with. But even then, that's still you'd be lucky to take anything out with that stupid wrench.
Yeah, there is never feeling overpowered in Alien Isolation, and that's a rare occurrence in a horror game. Sometimes you get toward the end, like in Resident Evil, you can hoard your ammunition, and at the end, you just feel like a powerhouse. Even in Resident Evil 7, as stressed as I got toward the end of that one, I had such firepower at my disposal that it was just inherently a little less scary. Things went down so much faster.
Right.
But since you don't kill the aliens, you survive the aliens.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, you can kill the Joes if you're willing to waste what you've got or need to waste what you've got on a particular Joe.
Right.
But there's rarely getting rid of a threat entirely.
Right.
It was a really cool experience. More horror games need to take an approach like this. If there were more horror games like Isolation, I would totally play them.
I've heard that you can actually play Alien Isolation completely passive and not hurt anything, not attack anything. Like there's nothing in the game
I believe it.
that locks you into a spot where you have to fight something to get out of it. There's a way out of anything, any situation you're in. If you plan your assault enough, you won't have to use one piece of ammunition to get through it. I've heard. I don't know if that's true, but I like you said, I would also 100% believe it, because you never felt like fighting was always your last resort. It was always the last thing on your mind is either get the heck out of here. I really don't want to waste anything I got like 6 bullets. I need all 6 of these things. I've got very little flamethrower gas left. I'm probably going to need to use that on the alien at some point. I got to figure out a way out of this without using it. Now, how many times I've died with like full ammunition, just going, nope, I'm too stubborn to use this. I can't. I have to hold on to this for something. Something's going to get me, and I'm going to need it. And then eventually you just cave and say fine, and you would waste an entire clip on a working Joe, and then you're up S Creek without a paddle, trying to figure out how to get past like 4 of the working Joes that you woke up because you fired your gun off. You discharged your weapon when you shouldn't have. There's just a lot of really cool aspects to the game that, one problem, if you think you solved it, turns into several problems that now you have to solve all of them with less items at your disposal. It's really cool.
Gosh, I don't know if I could play Alien not making any sound.
Right.
I think that would stress me out even further.
I would
just too much.
The idea of not being able to use your microphone, it just makes my ears tingle with excitement. I just think that would be so much fun. I love that. I love being in those in those kind of high stress games like that. It's great watch. It's a great view to watch someone just be so intent on what they're doing and then getting the surprise of their life and watching either them throw their headphones across the room or fall out of a chair or walk out of a room, which I've done all three of those.
Just scream.
Or just scream. Just scream an ungodly sound that you didn't know you could make. Yeah. Things like that. Yeah. It's good. It's good fun. Good fun. I love it. And
making me want to play this again, and I don't want to play this again.
I torment myself with these games, and I love it. I absolutely but I won't play it. I got to watch. You feel like when you play them on stream, or you play them on Twitch or whatever, you're like, your friends are watching the movie with you, but you're controlling it. You know, you're controlling all the aspects of it.
Yeah.
So you feel a little safer because you've got chat watching it with you or whatever. But sometimes those chat, they're not to be trusted. Especially when you give them sound alerts.
Oh, don't I know it?
We've learned firsthand.
I gave them sound alerts, and I made it to where I'm pretty sure that's what was going on. I was reading chat through my bot, I think. Or no, a screen I popped up that hid commands.
Okay.
That's what it was. So whenever commands were used, I wouldn't see it. Well, some of the more savvy members of chat discovered that throwing an exclamation point on the front of what they were saying made it so I couldn't see that. So they started plotting and planning what they were doing instead of just making it happen. Like, oh, this is a good time to do it. That's a good time. No, they were discussing when was a good time to do it.
God. That's so bad. I can't trust chat. I can't do it. I just can't do it. I don't know how you do it, man. They're not to be trusted.
They came forward. They came forward and let me know that's what they were doing. But
we have some.
That was after a while.
We have some like war planning type viewers that are very meticulous about how they plan on assaulting our psyches during these games, and that's why I refuse. I've got a scream from a friend of mine who goes, Pierce or Purse. You've heard of Purse. He was playing Resident Evil. God, was he playing 1 or 2? Anyways, he was playing one of the Resident Evils earlier on. It's the old PS1 version. And he's like, all right, I got to go to the bathroom real quick. And the spider in the sewer crawls out of the right corner of the screen. And this gentleman made a scream that I had never heard come from a human being that was alive and not in a movie that I've ever heard. And of course, 500 clips of it appeared everywhere. Sound effects were made of it. And I know a lot of people that have turned that into like a scare trigger or whatever during horror games. I won't do it.
Oh, a scare alert sound?
I won't give it. I will not give it to my chat. I fear what they will do with it. They are not to be trusted. It is the highest scream I've ever heard a man make out of his mouth. Have you ever seen the movie? Is it Accepted? With oh God, what's his name?
Justin Long.
Yeah. And it's one
long time ago.
Yeah. And the guy that's in all the funnier movies. He was in
Jonah Hill.
Yes, thank you. God, why am I forgetting these guys' names? Jonah Hill's in it, and this like skeleton falls from the roof, and he screams very high pitched when the skeleton falls from the roof. And I swear to God, it's the same sound. But instead of having someone make the sound and then put it over Jonah Hill's voice, because I don't think Jonah Hill actually screams like that, this came from the actual person, and I couldn't believe it. And since then, it's been a running meme for like 3 years now. Like it's been around forever, and it will never die. And it is one of the funniest things. So I will not give the chat the ability to use those powers for evil. I will only hold them for good. I don't trust anybody with that goddamn sound.
That's hilarious.
Especially in something like Alien Isolation or 58. There's no way. No way. I
No,
would be like, well, we're done. We're not streaming this anymore.
I'm actually planning. My my viewers were throwing ideas at me for sound effects for this October,
Mhm.
and I was like, all right, let's plan them out. We're making bingo cards.
Yeah, I heard about the bingo thing on your stream on Wednesday. Do you have like plans? Do you have
man, I'm excited.
I don't know, what's the biggest game that you would like to play for October for your scary game? Or
I'm going to be playing Visage and Resident Evil 8.
Oh my god. I want to play Visage so bad, but I am such a chicken shit about even.
Oh yeah, when it comes to scary
up.
games, I'm a total chicken shit.
Man.
But it's fun and it's funny for me. I throw on the heart rate monitor.
Yeah.
I let them have sound effects, and I am just a wreck for the
Visage
for the
is
remainder
gonna
of my stream.
I've watched playthroughs on YouTube because I want to see like what I'm up against. What am I going to be dealing with? And there's a scene in Visage that I'll never forget, and it's one of the biggest reasons why I'm going to have a hard time even playing it. All the lights go out in the game, and your only source of light is a flash on a camera to get through a hallway. And you have to wait for it to charge. No. So you'll take a picture, right? And you'll see where you need to go real quick. And then you'll walk and you'll hear the camera, beep, and then it's ready to go. And you flash it again. And God knows what you're going to see, man. I couldn't. I was like, nope. Because there might be something good there. So I didn't finish it. As soon as I saw him taking the pictures to get to the hallway, I went, that's it. I'm not watching it anymore. Because there might be a good jump scare there that I'd like to be surprised by. But, oh, man. That's hard. That's hard on me. I don't like being in dark places like that and not having control of at least a night vision camera or at least a flashlight of some kind. If you're just going to put me in a dark room and be like, you have literally 2 seconds of light to navigate through this, and there's something haunting you, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm going to try and I think I'm going to do it for October too. We might have to do a Visage double feature between you and I, because I really want to play it really bad, and I think that one's on the list. I think it might go up there.
Is Visage the one, like, it was a year or two ago now, I think you could get the demo, or it was maybe in early access where you'd only play like an hour or two of it or something.
It might have been.
I don't know if it was that one.
I don't know much about it. I was just bumping around on Steam going, let's see what kind of horror games they've got out there. And Visage was like top of the list when I pulled it up and went, all right, let's check this out. And he goes, you've played Alien Isolation, so this game probably would be good for you. And I went, all right. And I watched like the little cutscenes on that. I was like, this looks beautiful. Artwork looks great. Okay. It's not like you don't attack anything. It doesn't look like, just looks like you're kind of roaming around, like discovering information. That seems cool. Let's throw it up on YouTube and see, like, I don't know, 20 minutes of gameplay of it. 20 minutes was enough for me to be like, oh, this is the worst decision I think I will ever make on this stream. It's probably going to be worse than 58. It's probably going to be worse than that. It looks really, really bad. And it is designed to be a psychological thriller horror game. So it's supposed to just totally mess with your head the entire time you're playing it. So
that should be great. You know what? I want to play PT.
PT. I don't know. I'm unfamiliar with PT. What is PT?
It was short for, I want to say, playable teaser or public teaser. Mm-hmm. I don't remember exactly what they stood for, but it was supposed to be the sort of teaser demo for Silent Hills that Norman Reedus was going to be in back in the day.
Okay.
So it was on, I want to say it was on PS3.
Okay.
And it was free to download, and then eventually, maybe it was PS4, I don't know. But eventually it got taken off the store after Konami split up with Kojima.
Okay. God, I love Silent
Hill. And I think there's a Unity version of it you can get now for PC. Oh. I'm just afraid to try it on stream because I don't know if Konami is going to do DMCA's.
Gotcha.
Or not.
Understandable.
I feel like they might.
Understandable. Silent Hill is one of my favorite series. I actually like Silent Hill more than I liked Resident Evil. Even though I know Resident Evil was kind of the start of the tank-controlled horror trope, I thought Silent Hill took it to another level. And instead of making it, zombies are flesh and blood, essentially. This one was just, again, another psychological thriller. You're in this messed up town with filled with demons and stuff, and you're just trying to figure out what the hell you're doing there. And I like the mystery behind it. I like the what's going on. We're searching for things. Silent Hill 2 was the first Silent Hill I beat, and it was a tough playthrough. That was a scary game. When that radio kicks in, oof, look out. I was not having fun playing it as a kid. When that radio sound would come in, I'd start panicking. You'd start losing all sense of direction. And of course, the tank controls are impossible to navigate what you're trying to do, and it just adds to the stress of you trying to get away from a couple of nurses that want to come and rip your face off, or quite possibly the almighty Pyramid Head, coming to make your night a living hell. But great.
Did you ever get to play? I've talked about it on the podcast before, but did you ever get to play Shattered Memories?
I have not. No, I have not. Good one.
That's a fun one.
Yeah.
I do recommend it. Apparently, the PS2 version is a little buggy for emulation. I think it was.
Okay.
So you might want to try and find it for the Wii somehow.
Okay.
But,
the last
the Wii version
Silent Hill, I think,
big on the motion controls.
The last Silent Hill I think I played was 3. Was the last one, and I didn't finish it. I wanted to, but I didn't finish it. I was living in Germany at the time when I got it. I was getting pretty far into it, and then one thing led to another, and I had to move back. So all my stuff was late coming back with me, and then it went someplace else. And I had to go pick it up, and by that time, I was completely lost interest in finishing it, just with everything that had gone on at the time. So I definitely think we're going to do a revisit of Silent Hill 3 as well. I really, really thought that one was really well done. Because that was the first one to PS2, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that was like the at the time it was like the upgrade.
Silent Hill 2 was on the PS2.
Was it on the PS2? Okay, I thought it was PS1.
Yeah, but Silent Hill 3 was really graphically astonishing for a PS2 game.
Yeah, very beautiful. If you want to call rusty flesh-colored walls beautiful, as they go, but the design of it and everything was really spectacular, and I need to go back at it. I need to jump back on that one again. Try it again.
I think I still have that one. I don't recall.
I don't even, if I do, it's in a box somewhere. I'm sure I could dig it out. But oof. Good game. Great game. Great series.
Alrighty, sir. Well, thank you for joining me in this conversation.
Absolutely.
Being on the podcast again.
Absolutely. It's funny. I do all my RPGs and stuff, and then you're like, "Oh, you're on for a horror. You want to talk horror games?" I'm like, "Yes, absolutely. Sign me up for horror game talks. I'm all about that." Because when I initially started doing Twitch, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to play like a bunch of scary games because I figured, who doesn't like watching a grown man suffer in his office, at the hands of something terrifying. So I got a nice spot in my heart next to my RPGs that is a horror shaped. That's gonna sound really bad on re-listening. Scary game shaped hole in my heart that I fill. That's right.
You got a Chardmonk shaped hole in the wall in your heart.
Yeah, I do. Yes, it's. I love them. I love scary games, and it's true what they say, man. It gets addictive, and when you play one and you get through one, you want to start up in the ante. And one of these days, I'm going to play something that's going to make my eyes melt out of my head on stream, and it's going to be really, really weird to watch. But I'll just wait for that day to come because I love them. They're good stuff.
Wife Wolf was actually pretty excited that I was going to be playing some horror games again this October.
Nice.
She was like, good. You'll have because she just switched jobs. So I'm without insurance at the moment.
Right.
But she's like, you know what? Insurance kicks in October. You're safe to play them then. Good. If you have a heart attack, you'll be covered.
My wife loves it when I play them too. Rogue loves to mess with me when I'm playing any kind of scary game. She'll hear me chirping. I try and do it so that she goes to bed, so I'd rather annoy her than give her the opportunity to come in and scare her. But I think I was playing Resident Evil 8, and I was making all kinds of I'm scared noises. We'll just call them that. I'm scared noises. And she actually came in and sat down and watched the game because of what I was doing. She was like, "Oh, this is really cool." And I've got my headphones on, so I'm hearing all this weird crap going on, and I'm dodging big meanies and stuff. And she's like, "This looks cool." And I'm like, "Get the fuck down. Everything's gonna die. We gotta run him out of ammo." She's like, "I'm trying to sleep, man. Are you all right in here?" I'm like, "No, This place is on fire. Oh. It's a good time. Good time in the chart house.
That's great. All right, you want to let people know where they can find you?
Absolutely. You can always find me Thursdays through Sundays on www.twitch.tv/Chardmonk, CHARDMONK. You would also find me on the BCTV podcast on Sundays, which should be starting up next Sunday. Next month, with Bud Cave TV and a couple of other friends of ours that we do our little show with. So good times.
Right on. All right. Well, thank you again for being on.
Wolf, thank you for having me. I love doing this. I love talking with you guys. I love talking games with you guys. This is a great podcast. It's fun to be here.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you, everybody listening. We appreciate you turning in, and we will catch you later. Ah, shit. I had a robot sound I was going to do, and I forgot it. Oh, game over, man. Game over.
There it is.
There we go.
There it is.
Special thanks for music go to Arthur the Ancient, found on SoundCloud, or The Last Ancient on YouTube. For more episodes, please visit our website, pressb2cancel.com. As well, feel free to like or subscribe at Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else you like to listen to your favorite shows. As always, thank you. This has been
Press B to cancel.
Press B.